Hey, Cavs fans, welcome to another episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll Podcast, the podcast for diehard Cavs fans. Corey and Alex with you as always. And Alex, my man, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Just got back from vacation.
We both did.
Feeling good.
Yeah, it was kind of, I don't know if it's ever worked out that way where we're both out on vacation at the same time.
I don't think so. I think this might have been a first. It was just kind of funny that you were like, oh, I'm going to be in Florida next week, so I don't think we'll be able to record. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to be in Florida. But, oh, wait, you didn't go to Florida.
No,
you went to a beach somewhere else, but I went to Florida.
Yeah, and we kind of both just got out of there, kind of in time before the hurricane rolled through. That would have kind of ruined some of the vacation plans if it was this week, obviously. But did you guys have a good time? The family have a good time?
Oh, yeah. Like you said, the storm was coming through. I think like that Friday we were there, it started raining.
Yeah.
And the drive back, we both did the family road trip there and back, right?
Yep.
So, like the drive back was through a little bit of the storm, but other than that, wasn't too bad. But yeah, I'm glad we left. We timed it perfectly. Glad we left when we did.
Yeah, definitely. The beach got shut down basically the second half of the day. The last day we were there, we just hung out though. Never like downpour or anything like that, but it was lightning and stuff. And we just played beach games and just hung out. And then, made the drive home the next day. Oh man, you drove from Florida? That's a long drive.
13-hour drive, but I would call it 14 because, I mean...
You let the kids pee? You don't make the kids hold their pee the whole way?
Not the whole way.
All right.
Like good 6 hours or so.
Every 2 gas fill-ups, that's when you get to pee.
Yeah.
But it was good, man. Yeah, it's always good getting away from work and just getting away from the daily, every day being the same kind of thing. So it's cool to get away, refresh a little bit. And it's been a little bit since we recorded. As a result, there has been some Cavs activities that have happened over the last couple of weeks. And that's really what we want to talk about today, kind of give our reactions and talk about a couple different topics. And this first one, we probably won't spend a ton of time, Alex, because it's the oldest out of all of them. But Summer League. We never got to really talk about Summer League because the last time we recorded it was right before Summer League. We'll be honest, neither one of us really got to catch those games. They were kind of at odd times, and it was kind of hard to even find how to watch them. But there's always highlights after the games, right? And that's where I got to watch basically the highlights for them. But Alex, from your perspective, the Cavs didn't do that great overall in Summer League. They went 2-3. That's not really important. Although it was kind of cool how last year they won it all. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
They didn't get to defend their championship, unfortunately. But anything that jumped out to you or anybody's, particular that you were keeping an eye on or wanted to just see how they were doing?
I didn't watch a single Summer League game. And to be honest, normally I'm pretty excited about Summer League because there's usually some up and coming guys on the team I want to see, or, we got a couple good rookies I want to watch. Or
sure. This
year, I don't know. I just never really got excited about it. I think Jaylon Tyson's a great pickup. But I don't know. I just never really got excited about it, and just didn't catch any of the games. I watched a few highlights here and there. Jaylon Tyson did all right. He had some good games, but as far as a standout, I don't know. Didn't really feel like there was anything.
I felt like
caught my attention.
Yeah, I felt like Tyson had the strongest consistency in showing over the span of the 5 games. I mean, there were some other names there that Cavs fans should have been familiar with. Craig Porter Jr., Bates, Luke Travers was back. And then obviously Tyson was probably the one that most Cavs fans are most interested, because that's just the way it works. Whenever you have a rookie playing, you want to see what they're capable of. And you have to keep expectations in check. It's Summer League, so the competition isn't quite the same as what, NBA competition is. But what I saw from Tyson is a well-rounded all-around basketball player. He seemed like he was able to do a little bit of everything. He seemed to be constantly giving effort out there and really trying to showcase his skills. And as a result, his averages after those 5 games in Summer League, he averaged 15 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 58%, from the field, 40% from deep, and 91% from the free throw line. So a pretty solid stat line. Um, and from the highlights I saw and just the chatter I saw from other reporters and stuff like that, again, he's able to do a little bit of everything. He can dribble the basketball. That's huge, right? He can get to the rim. He can create his own shot. He can shoot it. He's rebounding. He's making behind the back passes to teammates for wide open threes at the top of the key. He was just out there hustling and doing a little bit of everything. And I thought he had a very strong showing in the summer league. So
Do you think that he'll get a rookie deal or a two-way, or think he's
I
going to be on the roster?
I think he's going to be on the roster. I think like comparing him to Bates, who I know there were some Cavs fans clamoring for Bates to get some more minutes at various times throughout the season because of all the injuries, because of all the just frustrations there were without the season. And sure, I had my moments where it's like, yeah, screw it, just put in Bates. What's it going to hurt? But
Right.
now, and maybe it's not fair to compare the two because of where they got drafted and the experience and all that stuff. But I feel like Tyson is light years ahead of Bates, and he kind of just closed the door on Bates getting any kind of run, in my opinion, if the Cavs stay as is with their roster and add in Tyson. I feel like Tyson gives them a little bit of an insurance policy if they decide to part ways with someone like an Okoro, like a Levert or something like that down the road. Tyson feels like, maybe he can fill one of those voids. Same thing if an injury happens, I can see them, giving him an opportunity, much like they've given other people opportunities, the Craig Porters, the Sam Merrills, the Dean Wades over the years. At some point, he'll get an opportunity. It's just whether or not he seizes that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard that Bates had a kind of below average summer league, and then kind of the
Yeah.
same with Luke Travers,
Yep.
and I think that's just kind of why I didn't. I mean, those were two of the players I was kind of excited to see
Yeah.
possibly live up to some hype, some potential, and they were underwhelming, and so I think that that's the one of the main reasons I didn't really follow the summer league that closely. But it's great to hear that Jaylon Tyson played relatively well through the summer league, and I hope he does get a roster spot. I think it would be, they got to shake it up a little bit. I know we kind of held fast this whole off season, sticking with our main guys. Everything that happened with the roster or didn't happen with the
Right.
roster.
Yep. And we'll get
So
in it. We'll get into
I think
that.
I think we got to add Jalen Bryson, or yeah, Jalen, and yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I think he definitely makes the roster. I don't think they go like two-way or anything like that with him. But I also don't know if he's going to get rotational minutes at the beginning of the season, right? It really kind of depends on some other things and you know, if any other moves or bodies get rearranged on this team or not. And again, it's summer league, so the competition isn't the same. That doesn't mean he's in all that translates. 5 games in a summer league doesn't mean he's the difference maker in the NBA for the Cavs this year. Still a lot to prove, and it's still the off season, and we'll see what he looks like in the preseason. The competition will be a little bit stiffer then, and he'll be sharing minutes with the Donovan Mitchells and Darius Garlands, and you know what I mean. So we'll have to see what it is, but it's always good to see your rookie do good in summer league, knowing all the bar is very low. It would have been bad if he had a horrible showing and nothing really to get excited about then, right? And then yeah, as far as like Bates and stuff like that, he's just still very raw. He's a volume scorer, or at least that's what it feels like. He'll chuck it up no matter what, where he's at. You know what I mean? And just needs to work more on his overall game. Craig Porter Jr., had a couple moments, but nothing crazy. And then yeah, Travers was kind of underwhelming. But if you remember his first summer league, he set that bar so high that first year. It was going to be hard for him to kind of replicate or beat that, in my opinion. But yeah, summer league's done. Cavs go 2-3. Got to
Yeah.
see Tyson at least, and it was cool at least seeing some highlights of Cavs basketball again because it feels like it's been so long at this point since we've been able to watch, the wine and gold.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it wouldn't surprise me at all to see. We got a new coach, Kenny Atkinson. He's known as a player development sort of coach. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him plug Jaylon Tyson in and get some minutes.
Yeah, give him an
I
opportunity.
hope that happens.
Yeah, me too. I could see potentially him being the third or fourth guy off the bench at some point in the season. Might not be game one, you know, but at some point in the season, I can see that potentially happening. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I hope to see more of him preseason.
yes, definitely, definitely. So that's the summer league. That kind of happens. That wraps up, and then a little bit after that, you know, at this point, the Donovan Mitchell news had already happened. We talked about it in the last episode. Kenny Atkinson comes in. So those dominoes kind of fell. Summer League happens. And then shortly after Summer League, the Cavs make their next big move, which was giving the max extension, rookie extension to Evan Mobley for 5 years, $224 million. So
It's
that's
a
a lot of
big
money.
number.
That's a big number.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Did the Cavs really have any choice? Like, was that kind of a no-brainer? Was that a smart decision? Because I've seen articles, I've seen fan base, you know, the fan base, not split per se, but I've seen both sides. You always will with any kind of transaction. But kind of what's your thoughts when you saw that? And do you think the Cavs really had no other choice?
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think they didn't have a choice. I think you make that offer anyway, no matter what.
Yep.
It's hard to find a good big in this league, and we need bigs. He's a good mobile big. He can shoot the ball. So his value, I think, is extremely high. He's super young. He's only
23 years old.
23
23.
years old.
Yep.
He's got a long way to go. He might have another 5 years before he even hits his prime. Who knows?
Right.
So the potential is astronomical with him. You got to give him that deal. He's one of the core four. He's a linchpin on this roster. So yeah, I think signing Mobley to a max extension was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was just going to say that about his prime. I mean, this next 5 years should be taking him into the beginning of his prime, hopefully, and where he really starts to bud and hopefully reaches that potential that, you know, we're all clamoring for as Cavs fans. And I'm sure the organization, you know, the Cavs are hoping he reaches that potential as well. The good thing about this, as long as, and so far, you know, he had some moments this year where he had some health concerns, but he hasn't been quote unquote like an injury prone player yet. He's not labeled that, right? So even if a year or two goes down the road, things aren't going the Cavs' way, they decide to part ways with Donovan, and maybe they dangle Mobley. Like, Mobley's value is still going to be there throughout the entirety of this contract, as long as he doesn't turn into like an injury prone player or something crazy like that, which I don't see that happening with him. He's too
Yeah.
young, he's too agile, he's too mobile, in my opinion.
Right.
Um,
Like a Anderson Varejao.
I was thinking more like a
Man
Kevin.
made of glass.
I was thinking more like a Kevin Garnett or something like that. But I know
Kevin Garnett wasn't injured. You think Kevin Garnett was injury
I'm
prone?
saying he won't be. I'm saying I
Oh,
think he.
okay.
I'm
All
saying
right.
I think he has the potential to be like a Kevin Garnett at some point in his
All right.
career, as long as he stays healthy. I know you like to just jab at Andy anytime you
Oh, I
could.
do.
So,
I do.
I like when you sneak that in there. But yeah, I think the Cavs had no choice because, you know, just because you give somebody a contract doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be wearing your team's jersey the entirety of that contract. And he's young enough to where his value is always going to be there during the whole span of this contract. And we talked a little bit about it on the last episode. There will be a new TV deal that comes up here in the future. And that 224 5 years from now might not look as big as what it does today. Who knows what contracts are going to look like?
Exactly.
You know what I
It's
mean?
funny that because we kind of talked about this last week when we were in the office, right before we left on vacation. I stopped by your office and we talked a little Cavs, and one of the things that I think you were kind of saying, you know, what are we going to talk about? Nothing's really happened. The Cavs haven't made any moves this offseason, and I was
Yeah.
kind of like, well, the Cavs could, you know, give a extension to Jarrett Allen. You know, they could say, you know, extend him 3 years, 90 million, but why would he do that right before,
The
you
TV
know,
deal.
if he just stays one more year and then, yeah, with the TV deal coming, he could sign a much larger max. So
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy that they ended up signing him for the 3 year, $90 million right before this big TV deal is going to happen, and we expect the cap to shoot through the roof
Yep.
even farther than it has. I've heard that one of the reasons that they did this or they signed him early was because I don't know if you read about this, but there's 6 months between
Yes. Yep.
signing
I was gonna say that.
the extension
Yep.
and what is it the when they can trade him before the trade deadline.
Yep. They
And
they,
so there's
they
talk about that they strategically did that if Mobley and Allen aren't working together well on the court, then they have options to move
exactly.
Jarrett Allen, and with this very team friendly contract that he's on,
And the
it would
value he
be
brings, and the
oh,
value he
absolutely.
brings, the phone will be ringing. The phone was ringing over the summer. We saw reports of that. Teams were calling on Jarrett Allen. Teams were not calling on Darius Garland. And we talked about that last episode where I think it was Wendy who said that Allen has the higher value right now between the two. And this contract is still very friendly. And yeah, that was the one that caught me off guard the most. I didn't even think that wasn't really in play. I hadn't heard any rumors about that. But going back to the comment you were just making, I think it's February 2nd is when he'd be eligible because he signed August 2nd. So February 2nd is 6 months, and that's 4 days before the trade deadline for 2025. So, like you said, if things just aren't quite working out, the dynamic isn't working out, Allen would become eligible to be traded a couple days for the trade deadline, and I'm sure there'd be a line of teams, lining up to call the Cavs and willing to take him off of our roster if it came down to that. Um,
I think they'd be crazy to trade
I,
him, though.
I,
In
I was
my
just gonna.
opinion, I think they would be crazy to trade him. I saw stats, about his, his PER and all this, and the Cavs record with him on the court versus the Cavs record without him on the court, and how much better they are.
Yeah.
A whole lot of advanced statistics showing that Jarrett Allen is he's a monster on this team. Whether Cavs
The,
fans like to give him flack or him not fitting well with Mobley. Let me tell you, if we got the right coach, he'll make Mobley and Allen work together,
yep.
and they'll be a beast on the court playing off each other.
Yeah. I know. I was going to say too. I know that there's some Cavs fans that just you plant your flag in the sand where you plant it. You planted it on Andy a long time ago. People are going to plant their flag on Jarrett Allen for the sake that he didn't play in that Boston series. He didn't quote unquote man up or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're going to be cheering for him when he freaking throws down a freaking alley oop over somebody. and yeah, the value he brings on the court with the money for his contract, it makes it very hard to move a piece like that.
I bet
So,
Verajao is just listening to this podcast, shaking his fist.
oh, that Alex,
those
that
those
Alex,
Cavs pick and roll guys, I'm gonna get them.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. But that one was surprising. I didn't see that one coming, and it shocked me the most. And especially when I saw the number, I was like, really, that's it? You know what I mean? For the value he brings, and maybe it's because he can't shoot threes. I don't know. You know what I mean? But it's just kind of crazy that the Cavs kind of pulled that off. And really, what this tells me, Alex, after seeing the Mitchell extension, the Mobley extension, Allen extension, Garland not traded this offseason, and offseason's not done yet, but hey, um, it feels like the Cavs are all in on the core four. I mean, you make all these moves to bring them all back. You have a new coach who probably is having some say, I would imagine, in the roster and the makeup. Heck, I would even go to say that Donovan Mitchell himself is probably having some say on some of these transactions as well. And it feels like the Cavs are all in on this core four, and they are all young enough yet to where this core four could be together for multiple years yet. And I know that freaks out some Cavs fans, and we've talked about this multiple times now. But I kind of want to deep dive this one last time because now that this is all official, bearing some crazy, out of the blue trade that happens in between now and the regular season, They're running it back with the core four for
now
the
in the
foreseeable
time we
future.
post this episode, Corey.
Yes. For the foreseeable future, it's all in on the core four. Are you all in on the core four, or what do you think about what the Cavs are doing right now?
Oh yeah, I'm all about the core four. I think we got a fabulous team. This is a team that's improved every season. We went to the conference finals here, and sky's the limit. I think barring some we stay healthy. Mitchell stays healthy, Allen stays healthy, Garland doesn't get his jaw broken mid-season. Could be a championship team. I think that's all there is to it.
There's some Cavs fans listening to that right now, laughing and shaking their heads, or even turning off this podcast right now.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. Yeah, there's very strong opinions about it, but what I'm speaking is the truth. So you can downplay it all you want. Oh, they didn't win 2 years ago. They didn't win last year. They're not going to win it next year. It's like, dude, these players are getting better. They're playing with each other. They're improving all the time. They're getting older. These guys are super young. They're getting into their prime.
They're growing up together.
They're getting better. Yeah, they're getting better together. It's not just running it back. They're getting experience. They're getting playing time together. They're learning. They're getting farther into the playoffs. Come on.
Yeah, and we've talked about this too. A lot of it comes down to luck, right? As far as when it comes to playoff time and ultimately winning a championship. Who's going to be healthy at the right time? Who's going to get hot at the right time? Heck, look at all the injuries that happened once the playoffs actually started. Jimmy Butler goes down. Giannis goes down. Mitchell goes down. Allen goes down. Porzingis was out. Like there's so many. Jalen Brunson gets hurt. There were so many teams that at the absolute worst time had injuries pop up. And what does everybody, Boston ends up having, quote unquote, an easier path and they win a championship. Finally. And they've had the duo of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum together since they both have been in the NBA. They've shuffled some pieces in and out. Al Horford's been there the last 3 years now too. But I was looking at their roster over the last couple seasons, and sure, they've done some things. They had the Kemba Walker. They brought in Brogdon. They traded Marcus Smart finally. Like they did some tweaks here and there. But at the end of the day, it's like they stayed true to what they believed their core was. And to them, their core was Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Do you know how much they could have gotten trade value if they ever would have decided to trade one of those in the last 2-3 years to try to go in a different direction? They didn't do that. And what ended up happening was they both turned into superstars. They learned to play together. They had that chemistry, and they finally were able to win their championship. Maybe, just maybe, if some luck goes the Cavs' way, this core four can continue to grow and maybe finally punch through some of the holes, issues that they've had the last couple of years with health and so on and so forth. And if they could do that, I totally agree with you. This is a very dangerous team if they're healthy and playing together and gel.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the Cavs don't make any moves. I mean,
they literally haven't made a
single They haven't made any moves, but I'm not saying they shouldn't make any moves. I think, if you can upgrade somewhere, sure. I think we still have a hole at the wing, right? Like we got Niang and Strus, and they didn't really, they didn't light my world on fire. Strus played well. Niang, I don't even want to talk about Niang. Merrill kind of broke out a little bit as a 3-point weapon for us. But if we can move any of those guys, LeVert, Niang, Merrill, Strus, and get somebody else in that we think will play better with our core four, then I think we should do it. But, who is that? Where are they at? I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know what the move is, but I trust Kobe Altman at this point. I think he's been a very good GM.
And we just lost more listeners.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying very popular things right now.
No, it's okay though. But like you said, we don't care. We speak what's on our mind, and if that's what you believe, then that's what you believe. And
Dan Gilbert would agree with me.
Same thing with
He's a billionaire.
Same thing with like Strus, and LeVert and stuff like that. Like he just played a full season with this roster. I mean, there was a lot of different variations of this roster because of the injury history that this team had. But it's like, okay, if you trade Strus this offseason and you bring in somebody brand new, now that person's got to learn how to adjust and play. Like this team should already have that chemistry. Like right now, this offseason, they should all be practicing together and just continuing to build that chemistry together. Um, and that's the advantage, I guess, of running it back versus trying to figure out, okay, where are these three new players going to fit into our rotation? When LeBron was here, it felt like every year half the roster changed over, right? And it was always like it never just really worked out because it was always being shuffled. You bring in guys that used to be prior superstars in their heyday, and now you're asking them to play for the vet interim, and it just didn't really work out because they were used to being the man, and you know what I mean. So this is a little bit different to where the Cavs have an opportunity to run it back with the same roster, which again, no, that isn't very popular, but they should already know how to play together.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree.
So,
I
so
feel like a broken record
yeah, totally. I mean, there's
going
nothing else
over
you could say at
giving
this
my
point.
reasons here, but
Yeah, yeah. So one thing that might change, Alex, is Sam Amico seems to think Tristan Thompson will not be brought back by the Cavaliers. He didn't really go into any reasons why or anything like that. And now we're kind of getting into the weeds of the roster a little bit with just some little things that are out there. But what's your thoughts on TT? I know he kind of had that scandal last year and he ended up missing a bunch of games and stuff like that. But I feel like we both felt like he met expectations, if not beat what we expected from him last year. And I felt like he actually was contributing throughout the year.
I just wonder where Sam Amico is getting that from. Is he where's he hearing that from, or why he thinks that?
Right.
I thought TT played great for us. Yeah, I mean, it could be the whole, uh, performance drug thing that he got
Yeah.
popped for, but I don't know.
It,
I would like to have him back. I thought he played great. He's kind of the opposite of Allen and Mobley, where he's just kind of a big presence in the paint and he's very physical. He'll bang. He'll grab rebounds. He'll push guys around that
sure.
push Allen and Mobley around. Right? I mean,
Yep.
he's got a pretty big weight advantage. He's definitely much more muscular than they are. So I think he adds something to the team that we don't have. So yeah, I would totally bring him Tristan Thompson back.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, he brings a veteran presence. You're going to get him for pretty cheap, I would imagine. Do another one and done kind of deal. I don't know how many more years he has left in him. He seems to be going hard on the crypto screen or crypto scene these days, based on his social media posts.
Oh, really? I
It's
didn't know anything. I didn't hear about that.
it's funny. I forget how long ago it was. It was right around after we recorded last, I think. He'll post something on Twitter, on X or whatever, and he's like, anybody got any recommendations on whatever crypto he's asking about?
Oh
And
no.
what was funny was, of all people, Delhi responded back to him and recommended some sort of course, and he provided like a link and stuff like that. And
Oh no.
I thought that was awesome. Like Delhi saying, "Hey man, you got to check out this course on crypto."
How to lose your money fast.
Yeah. 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 So we'll see what happens with TT. I did see somewhere, you said you saw this too, so I wasn't just imagining it, but there was some article out there at some point, a report out there that the Cavs have interest in potentially bringing back Marcus Morris to the roster. So man, like the Cavs are
I saw
really,
that.
when they say running it back, man, they're really running this thing back potentially. But I figure would you be okay with that too if the Cavs decided to go down that path, bringing back Morris?
I guess I don't think it matters a whole lot. I don't think he really adds all that much. He got some quality minutes in the playoffs for us when
He won that one game for us, man.
we were down to a skeleton crew because so many players were just hurt or
Yeah,
beat up, and they brought in Morris and he hit a three here and there. But
he's one of those players
I
to
could take him or leave
where,
him. I don't
yeah,
know.
he's one of those players to where it's like, okay, cool. He came here. Like he's one of those players like you don't really like until he plays for your team. And it was fine while he was here. He played whatever, how many games he played. He had a couple good showings. But it's like over the course of an entire season, I don't know. I feel like he'd become a George Nang, where it's like, don't play this guy, and all that stuff. But
Oh, I definitely play him over George Niang.
yeah, I would too. But I'm with you. It's like if they bring him back, it's like fine. If not, it's fine too. I mean, here's the thing with both TT and Morris, if you can find a better, younger option that can contribute more than what those two guys can, then obviously you entertain that, right? Um, so we'll just see what happens. The last bit of news that I saw, um, which we'll see what happens here, but going back to Luke Travers, he was granted out of his contract with the current, I think is on the Melbourne team with Delhi, the Australia team. So basically, he has gotten out of that contract to pursue NBA opportunities, quote unquote. And the Cavs still own his rights because they drafted him. What was it, 2-3 years ago now? And speculation is that he may join the Cavs in some sort of fashion. I could see it potentially being a charge roster spot and not necessarily a Cavs roster spot. Although, I know he is trying to make it to the NBA, but I don't know if he's quite ready for that.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of had a mediocre showing in the summer league. I expected to see him play really well in the summer league, and he really didn't. I don't know. A two-way maybe a two-way deal with the Charge, sure. Yeah, I'd like to see him on the Charge.
I'd like to see him on the Charge at least. That'd be cool. But we'll see what happens. He definitely has his fan base still from his first year, and he would be one of those players. He'd be like a Delhi or an Andy if he ever did make it and like play in a Cavs game. I think he'd be a fan favorite very quickly, just because his style, his look, all that kind of just plays a factor, and he'd be very easy to root for. I think if he ever made it to an NBA team. So
yeah, and I mean I kind of feel like the Cavs must have said something to him for him to get out of that.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's typically how it works.
Yeah,
is that the
exactly.
NBA team says, "Hey, we'll pay the fee to get you out of your current contract if you come play for us." So I feel like they've already told him to come. That he's going to be either a two-way player or they got something in the works for him.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. We'll keep our eye on that. Maybe by the next time we record, something has officially happened by that point. The only other thing I can think of, Alex, and it's been a little while since I've seen anything on it, but the last thing I saw, and it might have been while we were both out on vacation like a week or so ago, with Isaac Okoro. That's kind of like the biggest question mark that's left on this roster, right? And it's been a question mark for quite a while now. We talked about it on the last episode as well. I saw a report that the Cavs, quote unquote, have felt they have made multiple fair offers to Okoro. And obviously he hasn't accepted that. We haven't seen what those numbers look like. Like there hasn't been any, Woj tweets saying, the Cavs have offered Okoro this and he's declining it or anything like that. So it's kind of amazing that type of stuff hasn't got out there. But it's also telling me if that is true, they must be pretty far off. Like Okoro, what he thinks he's worth versus what the Cavs can actually pay feels like it must be pretty significantly off if they haven't come to some sort of agreement here. And that's what's being reported. Where do you stand on Okoro? Do you want are you at a point to where like the Cavs have to find a way to bring him back? Or are you kind of like, if it comes to an end, it comes to an end. Like where do you kind of stand on that?
I feel a little mixed on Okoro. I was hoping he would have had a more of a breakout season by now. This past season, he knew it was a contract year.
Yep.
So I expected him to be, much more aggressive. And he did play more aggressive this year. He went to you saw him score a bit more. He got to the hoop a bit more. He took more 3-point shots. He improved his 3-point shot.
Yep.
He's still a heck of a defensive presence and just extremely athletic dude. I'm kind of mixed on it. Like it could go either way. I think they should try to keep him if they can. Yeah.
I haven't even seen reports of other teams making contract offers or like showing interest in him either. You know what I mean? So I just, it might be one of those things to where, there might not be another option for him. And eventually, he gives in and accepts, whatever deal the Cavs are offering or whatever. But I'm with you. I mean, Okoro was never meant to be an offensive threat or anything like that. We knew that when we drafted him. But he did improve last year. The problem is, and he got plenty of opportunities. I mean, just think of all the injuries last year. And I'm sure there was times where Okoro was out, but it wasn't like any significant time. So he had plenty of opportunities to like break out. And he had stretches where he was great, but he also had stretches where he was quiet and cold, and mainly the end of the season and really into the playoffs. He didn't, he didn't do, he didn't do a ton, and he didn't do it consistently was the problem. I think if you were to ask a Cavs fan and say, what were the top 3 to 5 highlights of the Cavs season last year, I don't think anybody's going to say Isaac Okoro's name. Like Isaac Okoro showed great growth last year and like had a break. Like that didn't happen. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's also why the Cavs drafted who they drafted, because this is something that has probably been foreseen for quite a while. I mean, they didn't extend him last year when they had the opportunity to, and they're kind of playing chess right now. So the Cavs draft, Tyson kind of as an insurance policy in case, Okoro doesn't work out or they decide to move on from LeVert at some point, and so on and so forth.
I didn't really think of it that way, but now that you say it, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that could be. Man.
Maybe they're bringing Luke Travers to replace him. I don't know.
I mean, Okoro's, he's not one of the core 4, but he's been with the core 4 for the past 4 years. He was drafted in 2020, I think. He's 23 years old, the exact same age as Mobley. So, he fits right in the timeline. If he keeps developing,
sure,
he could be an integral part.
He could.
You gotta see more from him.
He could be. You know what I would love to see him be, and I think he could be at some point in his career, that like Bruce Bowen type player, that 3-and-D guy. That sure, he's not even the top 5 offensive options on your team, but there were times where Bowen was making an influence for those Spurs teams because of everything else that he did. You need players like that, right? He just hasn't developed to that point yet, but he's still very early in his career. And like you said, he's on the same age group as the core 4 and can continue to evolve with them. The problem is, and we talked about this, I feel like years ago, like when Sexton was still here, I feel like we talked about this. You can't pay everybody though. That's the problem. And if Okoro thinks he's worth 20 plus million a year, the Cavs just don't have that money. Yeah, that's the reality. You know what I mean? So he's kind of the odd man out too at the same time. And he probably feels he's worth what he's worth, and the Cavs just don't feel that or can't offer that salary, especially because he's not an offensive player. And that's typically the players that get paid. It's the offensive guys. You're not paying. There is no Ben Wallace's and Dennis Rodmans anymore that are making the money in the NBA. It's the guys that score.
Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
I can't think of any others.
Name 2 more.
There's 2 more.
I'll give you till tomorrow morning. When we sign on for work tomorrow morning, I want 2 more names that are making north of $20 million a year.
Who won Defensive Player of the Year this year?
Some schmuck.
Some schmuck named
probably Gobert. I don't know.
Jokic. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Not Mobley. So
yeah, it wasn't Mobley.
Mobley.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year. So that's what's been going on. That's the Cavs transactions that have been happening. Some of them I think we saw coming. Some of them we didn't think was going to happen. And I think still it's been just kind of the biggest surprise overall, I think, for Cavs fans with this offseason is the fact that they didn't do anything major to shake anything up. And there's still time left, but it's really looking like, again, they're all in on this core 4. I think Atkinson, and it's fair to say, as a new coach, you see the pieces there and you want to have your own crack at it. It didn't work out because it wasn't my system. It wasn't my my coaching staff. I want at least until the trade deadline to see what I have. I could totally see any new coach approaching the season like that. So we'll see what happens, man. I'm just starting to get excited and starting to get that itch for just Cavs basketball to come back. We're still a whiles away, but we're like in those dog days of summer, and it's like, man, there's no Cavs news outside of these extensions happening, and like the summer league was over in a blink of an eye. I just want to get back to some Cavs basketball. So I'm looking forward to it, Alex, and we'll see if anything else happens in between now and then.
Have you watched any of the Olympic basketball at all?
I haven't, actually. I watched a little bit of a replay of one of the games, but that was a while ago. It sucked because we're on vacation, like in the middle of it, and it's like you're doing something every night. You're exhausted from being out in the sun and swimming all the time. So it's like I would tune in like late at night at like 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night, and like horse racing is on. Or I watched surfing one night. You know what I mean? Like before I went to bed. You know what I mean? Like I didn't catch any of the basketball stuff, but I know all that stuff's on there for replays. Have you been able to catch any of it?
Yeah, just highlights. So I've just been checking out highlights, but it looks like the team's rocking. They're just destroying everybody.
They
just beat Brazil?
Did they? Okay.
Yeah.
Is there the 3-on-3 league happening? Is that going on? I think we talked about that a long time ago.
The big three?
No. I thought there was supposed to be some 3-on-3 in the Olympics now. Maybe that's not this Olympics. I haven't really heard anything about that. I've just been seeing stuff about Team USA, so maybe that's not happening yet. But yeah, I mean the Team USA is, they're always a solid squad. They had their years where they were bad, but I'm not surprised to hear that they're just blowing teams out of the water.
Yeah.
So
Canada's playing well, France is playing well, all the usual suspects. So it'll be interesting. I think they just beat Brazil in the quarterfinal.
I heard Canada just got eliminated. So
oh, did they?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Canada had a good squad too. So
yeah,
that's surprising.
They usually have a good squad. Yeah. Well, Alex, anything else we want to talk about before we wrap up this episode? That's all I have from my end. Anything from your end?
Nope, I think that pretty much covers it.
All right, so for the Cavs fans that have been wondering, that are watching this on YouTube for 40 minutes now, what jersey is Alex rocking? At first, I thought it was like an Eric Snow or like Ben Wallace or something like that.
Boobie Gibson.
But who you rocking, Alex? Who you rocking? The jersey.
There it is. Number 23. You know why? I wore this because LeBron's in the Olympics right now.
Okay.
So that's why I wore it.
And Alex did add a banner.
I wanted to rep. I wanted to support Team USA.
There you go. And Alex added a new banner to the background. A very, very cool Cavs. It actually kind of matches that style of jersey too. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it worked out well.
Cool. A team? Would you ever buy a Team USA jersey?
I had a Team USA jersey way back when I was in high school. I had a Penny Hardaway Team USA jersey. He was number 6. I loved that jersey. I don't know what happened to it. It's gone.
Man,
like I left it in my closet. I joined the military right out of high school. I went to basic training. I went to tech school. I came back to my parents from from the military, and my closet was empty. They had moved all my stuff to like a storage unit.
Damn.
And
I
got my stuff back from the storage unit. That jersey, I don't know what happened to that jersey. I'd love to have that jersey back.
Yeah, that's great. I talked about this very early on when we started the podcast. I was a Cavs fan growing up, but I was also a Magic fan, and Penny was my favorite player growing up. And that jersey, man, that'd be a good one. Another one would be kind of cool to get. And a lot of people don't remember that Mark Price played for the Dream Team. I think it was Dream Team 3. That'd be a cool jersey to find. I'll have to look on eBay to see what that goes for. The Penny one probably costs you a little bit of money. I wonder what Price would go for.
Dang, you're making me miss it even more now. It's like now,
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna send you some eBay listings that are $150 plus, and then I'm gonna go find a $40 mark price one for
Starting to make me a little salty here.
you. All right, let's wrap this episode up of the Cavs Pick and Roll podcast. I want to thank you, Cavs fans, as always, for tuning in and listening. And Alex, you want to let them know where they can follow us and connect with us.
Yeah, follow us on Facebook, Cavs Pick and Roll Podcast. Follow us on Twitter, @Cavs Pick and Roll. Shoot us an email, cavspickandroll@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, Tumblr. Watch this episode on YouTube. Leave us a rating or a review. We'd appreciate it.
All right, Cavs fans, there it is. We will talk to you again soon.
Peace out, Cavs fans.